Good evening. I'd like to welcome everyone to the City Council work session of Tuesday, January 30th, and call the meeting to order and approve the agenda.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
No question. It's the Cannon Beach City Hall Design Review Package, Design Package Review. Thank you. Bruce.
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. The purpose of tonight is that we're getting ready to go to design review. And we want to make sure that the council has a chance to look at the project one last time, make comments, make changes or whatever before we go into that. So with that, we have Leslie Jones here and Angelica.
You can go.
Okay, yes, Angelica. She's the brains in the outfit. But they will be presenting the plans in their current state. Leslie?
And thank you for giving me the opportunity to present.
Mhm.
I will go ahead and share my screen. And what we'll see up here is quite similar to the information that was in the packet. There are a few things that have been slightly modified that we'll talk about as we've worked through the design. There are some questions and clarifications that I will have for input, as Bruce said, as we prepare to submit to the design review board. To start off, our cover sheet here, this is the table of contents here is organized per the submittal requirements of the design review board. So that's dictating the order that we'll go through items. What you're seeing on the screen right now is an updated rendering of what we anticipate the building to look like overall. This incorporates changes that we discussed last time in terms of the site grading, the accessible parking space along Gower, the ramp and the stairs at the entry to resolve the difference in grade. This is also showing the signage we propose on the building. We'll talk more about that as we move through the presentation. Stop me at any point if you have questions. I will try to move through things pretty quickly. As I think we've discussed and presented similar information previously. Next is the site analysis. These are existing conditions and a summary of existing conditions. So what you see here is the existing building that we're in, the existing parking on both the east and west sides of the building, some additional building structures. The thing I would like to call attention to on this slide is the trees. So since this was submitted, we have been working with and coordinating with the arborist on confirmation that we understand which trees are in good health, which trees are nearing the end of their life or make sense from his perspective on what to keep.
Leslie, are you working with the city arborist?
Yes.
So, okay.
Jeff?
Yeah, okay.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
What we're looking at now on the screen is what we presented in your packet. It has changed somewhat in our coordination. So the largest impact here from a site design perspective has been on the southwest side here. We had anticipated keeping the larger tree in that corner. It turns out, my understanding is that tree is not in great health. So moving on to this next slide, this is what we have coordinated based on Jeff's site visit and walk. It turns out that the tree we had anticipated keeping his recommendation is to remove that, but to keep the adjacent cedar that is in good health, and by giving it more space, we'll have more opportunity to grow.
And a tree,
It's number 5 here, the one that we are keeping based on his recommendation.
keeping 5.
You're keeping the.
6 is, you cannot,
6, he's recommending we remove.
and do we know what kind of tree it is?
I think it's a spruce.
Yeah, I think so. And then 6 is a cedar.
5 is the cedar.
I mean, 5, that's what I meant.
We are also keeping number 1. I know we've been working with him to coordinate the extents that we need to provide protection on that as construction gets started. That's the shore pine out here in front. In his review, he is recommending removal of some of the street trees along Gower that would be replaced. My understanding is those had some damage. And given the impacts of construction on top of that, the recommendation is to put new street trees in.
And so we don't know what kind of trees these are. Is it, I'm assuming they're the cherries?
I believe so. The final report from him is still pending, so I don't have that to share this evening.
I'll have it here shortly. Next week or so.
Would these trees be replaced then with others?
The street trees, absolutely, we would replace those with others. And so we're still coordinating with Joyce, who's online now, in terms of what species will be preferred there, if it's to match these or if there's another preferred species.
But Joyce is gonna work with Jeff in terms of replacement trees.
Yes.
Thank you.
There are also some trees that we are removing from the southeast side on top of that retaining wall. Those are to thin out the vegetation back there to allow opportunity, as I understand it, for the other more healthy trees to thrive. So if I didn't state it clearly previously, the trees in red are those we're recommending removing.
With no replacement.
That is varies depending on where on the site. So
This is just trees that are being removed and trees that are remaining. It's has nothing to do with replacement at this point.
correct, this is just the existing site condition and those trees that will be removed. Then the landscape plan, what you'll see is the trees that we're proposing removed won't be on that plan. The existing trees we're keeping will and then infilling and replacing.
Thank you.
Any more thoughts or comments on that before I move on?
You're gonna talk more about the trees that are being removed and why, or?
So this is still a process that's ongoing. As Rusty mentioned, I haven't seen the final report from the arborist. I know he spent several hours on site a couple weeks ago doing a site walk and tour and looking at all of these trees. And then we have been coordinating with getting this map developed for use in that final arborist report, which we should have in about a week.
But these are all his recommendations.
These are all his recommendations. Mhm.
And when the report's finished, we'll see it with the replacement
The
trees.
likely, well, I don't know what will be in the report for sure. I imagine that will take further coordination with Joyce to get a final replacement plan. What I do anticipate seeing in the report is the reasoning on each individual tree, more information about the species and the health and the life of each tree.
Okay,
It'll also have, you want to give guidelines on protecting the trees and what needs to be involved with all that process as well.
during construction.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
So
I assume it's not tonight that you'll let us know the reason some of the trees need to be removed. I assume is for construction, correct?
No.
No?
There are some, if we zoom in here, trees 3 and 4 are placed right now where the building will be. So those will be removed based on construction. We talked quite a bit about the trees in the parking lot. These numbers 17 through 20, these groves, and a balance of the providing parking in the new layout and the health and age of these trees.
So none of those 17 through 23 are in the footprint or are affected by the footprint of the building.
They're not impacted by the footprint of the building, but they impact the design of the parking
Yes,
quite significantly.
yes.
And I believe they're the groves of alders there that, again, his recommendation overall was that they be removed. That the remaining lifespan, as I understand it, is not, doesn't justify the balance between providing parking and keeping them. His recommendation is to remove them.
And also, though, the construction is gonna go on around them. You'll see where the building is, that it'd be difficult to keep those alive.
The DRB is gonna see this before we know what those trees are.
No, I understand the arborist report to be imminent. So we will have more information before we submit to the DRB, which I anticipate being mid-February. So if, I don't want to speak out of turn, but if there are additional information that is requested between now and when we submit, then we would be prepared to come back and present that.
And the
To us.
head's going away, correct?
Yes.
Correct. Both the shed and the little garage. The next series of slides here are the site photographs that are to be included in the packet for DRB submittal requests. We broke them down into each side of the building. So what we're looking at here is the west side of the existing city hall and parking. This is the east side of the parking lot. So the shed and the garage we were just talking about will be removed. The area you see on the top right, that's the area of vegetation we're talking about selectively thinning. And the final slide of photographs is the facade along Gower. This is the site plan that was included in your packet. This is not, this was before we got the updated information about the trees. But this is the site and the plaza design that was previously looked at and preferred. The other thing on this slide I'll point out quickly is the trash enclosure proposed. So at the back east side of the site, adjacent to that existing retaining wall, we have an enclosure for trash bins. This is our proposed design for that. It's a pretty simple cedar fence in lieu of something like concrete block. It's just a cedar horizontal slatted fence.
tree on the southwest, the one that you're retaining? Then,
So
or is that,
this tree is the one we had anticipated retaining because it's the larger of the two. What this next slide is, we moved here. This has more coordinated information. So this is retaining that smaller cedar, but it did impact the plaza. So things shifted there, and this is the design as it stands now.
significantly smaller plaza?
It's not a significantly smaller plaza, but it did shift. It's a little bit smaller. It did shift to the west a bit. And I can pull that up. So the shape of it, the size and shape of it adjusted to accommodate that tree. Another thing I'd like to review on this site plan, a couple items we haven't previously discussed are the flagpole location and bike racks. I'll start with the bike racks. So as far as I could discern from the development code, I didn't see a requirement to include bike racks, but wanted to discuss them as an amenity for both the public and staff, if that would be a preferred addition. What we're looking at now, starting in the back, this is our area for staff. Just to have a moment to step outside, potentially a picnic table or some sort of seating. And what you're seeing here is 2 bike racks that could accommodate 4 bicycles.
4 for each rack.
2 for each rack.
Okay.
Two for each rack for total.
Okay.
I'm showing the same number here on the public side. So 2 bike racks that would accommodate 4 total bikes. The circle here, we're seeing that's one potential location for a flagpole. Alternatively, up here closer to the sidewalk would be our second or alternate location where we could place a flagpole. And I can keep going through the presentation and come back to that. The next sheet here is our grading plan. The trickiest part of grading has been the plaza corner. So this will need to be updated with the adjusted plaza and taking another look at grading. It looks like the slopes here will likely be steep enough that they will trigger handrails on the portion without the steps. So the steps would also have handrails, but the curved pathway up will likely ramp with handrails as well. Moving on to the landscape plan. This is showing the 20-foot landscape buffer along the south property line, providing that buffer with the trees, but also keeping the landscape on that south side pretty simple for maintenance. In general, I know this is maintenance has been a consideration as we've designed this. It includes parking lot, also trees. So the trees would be on the parking lot islands. That's also been coordinated with site lighting fixtures, which we'll also get to in a moment. This does show street trees, a balance of existing and new. Again, this will get updated with the new arborist recommendations. Another thing for the design review board submittal that we anticipate adding to this landscape plan, just our images or pictures of what each of these plantings looks like for better visualization, easier visualization of what the landscaping will be. Exterior lighting here. So this is showing both the lighting that will be mounted on the buildings and the lighting for the parking lot. What you're looking at here is in the middle of each of these circles is a light fixture, the light, and then the circles represent with the rings of lit area around that. These numbers here represent the foot candles or measure of light on the ground, given these light placements. So this is a combination of lights that are mounted on poles. They would be kept relatively short, so no higher than 15 feet on any lights on poles. Building mounted lights, and I'll show you a couple options for fixtures for that. And at the entries, both the staff entry and the public entry, these smaller lights here that are labeled D, those would be mounted on the underside of the canopies.
Leslie, so have you checked that all of these fixtures meet with our dark sky ordinance?
So that, yes.
You're getting to it.
So let me go over to this other screen.
She was ready for you.
I knew you would be so well prepared.
Set up.
So this is the primary fixture that I've been proposing. It's international dark sky compliant. It also comes with marine grade fixtures and coatings. So it's meant for, you can use it in a swimming pool. It's meant for the marine environment.
That's what I will get.
So the concept here is also to use warm light because that helps with the dark night sky considerations. So this is shown two fixtures mounted on a pole, which is one way. So in the parking lot on the east side, we would be proposing something like that. I scroll down. There are some other options here. So there's the option of a similar gooseneck that's building mounted, and that's to coordinate aesthetically with the whole site. There's also the one to the left is another version that's building mounted, which it's a little bit smaller. So we could do either one, both, because the fixture head is the same. They're both dark night sky compliant. We did look at some fixtures that were similar to this, but had basically the light around the neck of this. There were slits in it, and I don't have that to show you. I think we have that maybe in a rendering because we were considering it, but that's not dark night compliant because the light is allowed to escape.
I love the gooseneck. I think it's really beautiful.
How do these fixtures compare to the others that we have around the city?
They are different. So, so the street lights here is what I'm responding to, the globes. And so our direction had not been to try to match that. Also, those wouldn't be anything we could get now. I don't see how they would be dark night compliant because they don't direct the light down. In terms of private fixtures,
No, I'm thinking of public fixtures, yeah.
Um, the rest of this package are some other fixtures, so this is our basis of design for something that could be mounted on the underside of canopy. So this would be something simple like this to light the entries and ultimately to light the building mounted signage. Additional information on that. This one is still a fixture we're researching. And this is, we're exploring ideas to put a small wayfinding fixtures, even the benches, both at the front entry and in the plaza. So something near the ground, recessed into the concrete bench that would just be an accent or a wayfinding feature. I think what we have selected now is probably too big, and so I'll be looking to find a smaller.
I'm sorry, you said too big.
Yes.
Okay.
This is an alternate fixture. And this is a pole mounted version. This is also dark night sky compliant. It struck me as
Industrial.
not in character.
No.
So. So scrolling back up to the top, I think this is for several reasons, my recommendation. Again, on the building mounted version. I heard one preference for the gooseneck, but that either type of fixture would perform beautifully, I think.
I like the gooseneck.
Yeah, it's really,
Okay, so we'll get to see those more momentarily as well. But when we look at this site plan, that's what is represented by. So something like this would be that gooseneck building mounted fixture.
And it's different if it's the other version of the wall mounted.
I think we have renderings of each, so in terms of light output, they're the same. This is the floor plan, again, for presentation to the DRB. I'm not sure that there's anything here that's changed. This is the roof plan. So what we're looking at here are the areas of sloped shingled roof in gray. You can see the entry canopy at the public entry and the entry canopy back at the staff entry. In the middle here, the white portion, this is the flat portion of roof, or mostly flat portion of roof. It's sloped at 3/8 inch per foot. And that will be used as our mechanical well. So our mechanical equipment will be housed on the top of the building and shielded from view by the slope of the shingled roof. The green portions of roof that we're looking at, that's also right now asphalt shingled roof, but that's where we are focusing our attention on installation of solar panels. So we will be working with a solar panel consultant and design partner, but these are the areas of roof that I've set aside. They're south-facing as our first target for solar panel installation.
Is any of the vegetation that you were proposing to plant there able to grow up beyond the height of the roof?
I believe not. Joyce can hop in and correct me if I'm wrong, but I know that Joyce is aware of our solar panel location and was selecting trees that would both work with that and be compliant with the screening requirements.
I am aware of them, especially in the location that is directly facing the property line. And changed out the trees to a shore pine, which doesn't tend to get as dense or as tall in that location.
Moving from there into the building elevations. So the first elevation here, the north elevation, this is the side facing tower. There are images, we'll talk about color here shortly. The south elevation here, again, facing the south property line. We did, since the earliest renditions of this, raise that south roof a little bit. We left the roof at the elevation previously discussed and raised that middle portion for a couple reasons. Primarily, it was to make sure we had the clearance between that mechanical well and allowed us to get those clear stories for natural light into the building core. And so to get the windows there and the waterproofing, we raised that roof a little bit, which has the advantage of that's the roof where the solar
What
panel.
is the highest elevation of the building?
So the highest elevation of that top roof is just over 22 feet.
Okay.
I believe the design standards in here have a maximum of 24 feet, which is typically calculated to the center of the roof slope. The east elevation here is the staff entry. So we've kept the canopies, the bottom of structure of those canopies, we've kept them at 9 feet. What you're looking at here, these 3 doors, the right is to the mudroom. The central one is the primary staff entry. And the one on the left is the entry to the garage area. The furthest on the left, this is an opening that will house the generator with the door beyond in that opening to the mechanical electrical rooms. So here you'll see one version of this light fixture. This is not the gooseneck version, and it's the version that allows light out the side. So this will be updated with preferred. If that's the gooseneck, then that's what it will be. But this does show the locations where we're proposing them.
So if we go with the gooseneck, everything will be.
Everything will be both the pole mounted and the building mounted. This is an elevation looking straight onto the building entry. Again, showing the entry stair and that entry ramp. So this shows the elevation to, it looks like about the top of structure for the council portion of the building, and this is just over 17 feet. And then these are, because it's angled, these are elevations showing that those angles. So in terms of color and material, again, asphalt shingle roof. We have painted white the window frames and fascia. And when I say white, it's some version of white. It won't be bright white. Cedar shake on the proud portions of building. Another item of input where right now we have cedar shake called out, but if there is a preference for cedar shake versus cedar shingle, we could discuss pros and cons there. The horizontal portions of cedar are shown here at the council chamber portion of the building. Our windows, we have their wood clad aluminum windows is what we currently have being priced with dark frames, trims at the council chamber. And then a concrete stem wall that will be visible as we work with the grades.
Leslie, can I just make sure I heard you correctly? Did you say wood window?
I said wood clad aluminum windows. So what we're looking at now is a Pella window so that it can provide the performance of a more commercial window and have the wood cladding and the look of a more traditional wood.
So where would the wood be?
So if I zoom in here, the wood would be on the mullions. And the window frame
On the exterior?
on the exterior. And I say that that's currently what is in the set being priced. So concurrent to this exercise, the Emmerich has a full set of drawings that show in a little bit more detail what we're thinking at this time. They are currently estimating the cost, and it's on the schedule to present those items to you at the end of February. But we wanted to come with the costs. And so I know that the windows we're proposing are not the most economical.
I'm not thinking about economics at all. I'm thinking of longevity and climate. And that's my concern.
And what's the most common use here?
Fine.
Yeah.
But there are commercial windows that are readily available, that don't have wood on the exterior.
The wood on the exterior it comes at a premium, but these are commercial windows with the performance of something like a vinyl. In terms of the marine climate and its impact on wood, I absolutely hear your concern.
It's just been my experience around here that, you know, they look great in certain applications where they're out of wind-driven rain. They'll last just fine with proper maintenance and painting, but you know, I'm not sure that particular location is somewhere that would be the best for those. Would you propose that type of window be installed all around the entire building?
Yes, right now that's what we're proposing.
Okay.
I love the way those windows look. I know that I looked into windows a lot when we built our house and I desperately wanted wood clad windows and was told by my contractor that I could have vinyl clad windows that looked like wood clad windows, you know, and but they look the same. They look like that. They just are vinyl instead of wood. And I don't know if that, you know, they're Anderson. And I don't know if this was his recommendation. He said he would swear by it. So I don't, you know.
Yeah, that's good. It's kind of my gut feeling.
But it looks like, you can't tell from looking at it that it isn't wood.
So we did work with our envelope consultants who we had a discussion about the performance criteria and spent a long time looking for something that would give us that aesthetic and meet the commercial performance criteria. And so I think as we get into the next stages of design, And especially as we look at the pricing, I'll be aware of that and we can look at other options that maintain the aesthetic and the performance.
And it may be that the product now is better than when, than it was 15 years ago. So different. So this was, I'm talking 15 years ago. So this may be new commercial, the best thing for a commercial building. I don't know. But I sure like the way it looks.
The other thing you'll see here, I think on this next slide, a little bit more. So this is the facade along Gower, many of the same materials, showing the cedar shake. In the recessed portions, we have horizontal and vertical cedar siding, that is stained the darker color to again emphasize the recess we talked about previously. Same window trim colors at that recess, at those recess portions, similar to the council chamber. I am proposing a darker window frame to make those proud areas of cedar shake really stand out with a different window frame. The white fascia is consistent across the board.
I think it's very clever. I like it.
Leslie, when you say the difference between cedar shakes and shingles, what is the difference?
In terms of how the pieces are broken, so whether it is a cleaner line along the bottom of each piece of material, or whether it's sort of snapped and a more jagged, more rugged sort of look.
You mean like a roofing shake?
I think they're both, not quite. But so what we're looking at here is one that well, this looks more like the snapped broken version, so the lines are not quite clean and sawn across the bottom. There's just more variability.
Yeah. Like that.
When you were mentioning the window frame color, is it reflected in this version, or you're saying you're recommending something different, or this is the different?
This is the difference. So on the shake, these are the white trim pieces. The windows themselves are the same. I'm proposing different colors for the trim around the windows.
Well, I thought you said it was gonna be white all the way around.
The fascia,
Oh, the fascia, okay.
fascia on the top here with the white.
Okay. Okay.
I like the variation myself.
Yeah, I think it's great. Makes it more interesting.
The thinking was similar to the stain, that by providing a darker trim, those areas recess more than visually. Um,
There it goes.
Next one is about the signage. Right now, what we're proposing for signage is very simple. It's limited to just building mounted lettering. These are sized so that each letter is 12 inches tall. That's visible from about one city block. So the idea would be that you could potentially see this as you round the corner from Hemlock. The letters themselves would not be illuminated or glowing. They would be lit by those fixtures on the other underside of the canopy. So there would be light fixtures under the canopy shining in the area so we could read it. but the sign itself would not be connected to power. These are some different views. We're providing renderings here of some different views in lieu of the model that is per the code. In this view, you can see that portion of roof that I've popped up a little higher. So that's why this gable is peeking up behind, because it is a little higher. This is modeled with one of those gooseneck fixtures. Again, shows the parking spaces in front and the grade change and that ramp. This one, so again, on the left, you can see our alternate fixture. On the picture on the right, you can see the gooseneck. Picture on the left is as you walk up Gower. So from the east, walking towards the building entry. And then the image on the right, this is the backside, that staff-oriented side, where you're seeing a small seating area and 2 bike racks. And again, the building-mounted gooseneck fixture.
Those bike racks are interesting.
I
don't know how do they work?
so
Walk your bike to it.
I did want to explore something that would be simple and yet something different than the more traditional inverted U. So this is what we started with.
I like it.
We can have.
Goes with
horse-
the, goes with the
horses.
gooseneck.
Oh, Leslie?
Hmm?
I'm not sure if this is the time to bring this up, but in all the renderings, you don't show corner boards on any of the corners of the buildings. Is that how the construction's proposed?
Right now, that's how the construction is proposed, where we have the horizontal cedar planks.
Hmm.
That I assume we'll need to add something there to make that transition. And that would be something we detail as we move forward.
Okay, but the shingles would be woven.
I had assumed yes.
And what are your thoughts on that as far as maintenance durability?
Well, woven corners have their issues, but they look really nice. I'm not so sure about, still not sure exactly what the cedar shape would look like. And as you proposed it.
The shake rather than the shingle.
Exactly. I've worked with all different kinds and they neither hand split or, slightly rougher, but I don't really have an opinion about, the longevity of it. Eventually they kind of pull apart and they don't look as great as when they were installed, but
And you're just talking shake versus shingle.
yeah. I don't really want to get into the weeds about that. I just didn't know whether the way it's drawn in the renderings, whether when it was to be constructed, that all of a sudden it'd be corner boards at every single corner of the building.
I would like to avoid it where there is shake.
I mean, I like the look as it's proposed.
Mhm.
Because then it brings up, would you paint those? Would it look the same? I think it would add quite a bit more to the visual look.
Mhm. I'd like to keep the corners as minimal as I can. As we move forward with detailing that. We did add a trim board at the base of the wall.
Yeah.
To help with the, just to bring that wood up. And so we would have a paintable surface down at the base. I'd like to avoid something like that on the corners. because I agree that would look very, very different.
Especially where the windows are close to the corner and then you have that corner board right up against it.
Yeah.
Looks a little jarring to me at least. Thank you.
And there is a lot of words on this slide, and I'm not going to go through and read them. This hasn't changed from the version that is in your packet. I can go through the goals here in terms of our energy conservation measures. In terms of site, it is one, complying with the International Dark Sky criteria. So that includes the color, temperature, and reducing glare and keeping lights as minimal as they can be within safe levels. Also with civil, we're working on below grade stormwater treatment facilities so that the stormwater will be treated quality before it leaves the site and enters the public system. Right now, the direction is those would not be above ground rain gardens, but below ground facilities. And that has to do with both the space on the site and it has to do with the grades on the site. So on the south side where we have all that space and would love to do it, that's not how the grading works. For the building, we are going right now, section is all electric, no gas service in the building. So that includes a high efficiency electric water heater. Then resiliency for the building would be provided by a diesel generator in the back. Other building considerations for energy conservation, the traditional renewable natural materials that we're proposing, high performance glazing system. Building envelope, we're proposing a rain screen system throughout. That's including areas at the shake, which is a little unusual to it. So there's basically we will install the shake on a substrate with an air barrier behind that substrate so that the building can breathe and perform better long term. Other things, low emitting interior finishes and fixtures, Energy Star compliant appliances. Our interiors department does look pretty carefully at all of the interior finishes we propose for limiting of VOCs, avoiding harmful chemicals, ventilation, acoustic comfort, and indoor lighting quality are all things in terms of wellness and conservation that we're looking at. The HVAC I already mentioned partially would be, so I mentioned the electric water heating. In terms of HVAC, there's a DOAS system we're proposing, which conditions the air that's ventilated. So it's a system that will warm the air with the interior air as it ventilates so that you're not having to reheat and recool that outdoor air in terms of ventilation. Plumbing, we looked at, so both insulation around that plumbing and then the flow of the fixtures. We talked about that at some lengths in terms of energy conservation. So there's a balance there between the really low flow fixtures and the maintenance and the comfort. And so our fixtures will be low flow, but we're not proposing the lowest flow on some types of fixtures. And that's again for performance, maintenance, and comfort. And renewable energy, we talked about the solar panels. There is a portion of our overall budget that will be dedicated to providing that renewable energy.
But that's a bit of a work in progress at this point.
Yes, so it's 1.5% of the building cost, the construction costs. that amount of money will be devoted to providing renewable energy. What is still, we're working through is how much that 1.5% will buy and how it will be designed. And then finally, the last requirement for the design review board is a copy of the site survey. So this is done by SNF Land Services, showing the existing conditions. So when we talk about the existing trees, this is our primary source of that information. And that brings me to the end of that presentation.
And when does this go before the design review board?
So our goal is to incorporate comments that we hear this evening, incorporate the arborist information with a little more detail, and submit the package to the design review board in mid-February for the March hearing.
Okay, thanks.
So will we see it one more time then before it goes to design review? With the arborist report and,
I think if that's requested, we can accommodate that.
I think that's a good idea.
I do too. Because we love meetings. Because we love meetings.
Or do you see that as requiring a meeting? Or would you feel comfortable with us all viewing the arborist report and then offering comments if they were available? I think that's the only issue that seems to be outstanding.
I think if we saw the arborist report, and then if we felt we needed to have a discussion after we saw the report. Would be okay with me. But what about everybody else?
I'd like to see exactly the final product going to the design review board. I'd actually like to see it
In a meeting setting.
if need be, just
Okay.
because I think it's important. Because of potential issues that we really see it, exactly what they're getting.
Okay.
There's no surprises.
Yeah, that would be my
Definitely interested in the arborist.
arborist too. I just feel like if
It'd be a short
We were-
meeting.
given it, I'd feel okay giving my, written opinion, but maybe a meeting would be better.
Yeah, I think,
Maybe we can make it part of another meeting.
yeah, that would be good.
So we have a meeting already scheduled for the 6th. So I don't know what time.
6th of
February.
February.
Next Tuesday.
Next
That's
week.
That's next week.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't know
pretty
if that
short.
would work for what Leslie has to finish. We also have a meeting on the 7th for TSP and parking priorities. And we have a meeting on the 13th, which is our work session special meeting. The deadline for the DRB packet is February 15th.
Oh, okay.
So those are the time constraints.
The 13th might be, give them the time that they need and would still allow you time for the design review board packet.
Well, the 13th is 2 days before it's due, so that's,
I just don't know if they can,
I guess that would be up to Leslie.
that's a really fast turn.
February for March.
The 13th possibly. By the 6th, we should have the arborist report and we'll have more information. My hesitation with that timeline is getting some of the consultant sheets updated in terms of lighting and grading particularly for the revised plaza.
Yeah,
But for something like that, you're not asking for the final grades. You just want to see which way the grade's going.
I want to see what the design review board is going to look at.
Yes.
Well, then the design review board isn't going to see the final grading either.
So this is what we had anticipated, the level of document to be provided. Specific to site grading.
Well, I don't. Not gonna say anything. You know what I'm thinking.
And have you gotten feedback on all the variables that you wanted tonight?
No.
I didn't think so.
So I believe I heard that the bike racks were desirable as an amenity.
Oh,
Yes,
That the bike racks were desirable as an amenity.
yes.
Is two on each side of the building an adequate
I think so.
level?
well, we can always start with that.
Yeah.
And all the staff starts biking to work.
It's,
We can,
it's a good start.
Okay, the other piece was just the flagpole. So. And I'm showing two possible locations for the flagpole. One up near the sidewalk. A second location mid plaza. So if it's preferable to have it up near the sidewalk, we would adjust the paving so that it sat on concrete or hardscape, not in landscape. That's the sort of this black box around it. I will go back here just because you can sort of see how it's visible from Gower, whether, you know, how this pole interacts with the building. There's preferred right at the sidewalk or further down in the plaza.
I kind of like closer to the sidewalk and street, but
I think it should be out of the way, just potential banging into, if it's up near the sidewalk and parking and everything, it might be.
But it's gonna be, I think you said that would be, you'd adjust, if you put it in that location you just showed us, would it be on on the landscaping, or would you adjust the hardscape for?
My thought is we would adjust the hardscape so that this became hardscape.
So you could walk into it just as easily.
could either of them. And it seems a little bit awkward with the bike racks, but
No, that's true.
I mean, it's so minor.
I don't, I don't really even have a preference.
I don't either.
Okay.
I don't care.
We'll do it my way.
I think we'll put it near the sidewalk.
Now you have a preference?
okay, let's get on.
But then you two are separated.
Yeah.
And the other item is the signage, if there are any concerns or thoughts or potential change in direction on the building mounted sign.
I love the simplicity of it.
Yeah, I like it.
Okay.
And just to
Have fun.
make sure that I heard you correctly, the lighting for it will be in the soffit of the covered portion. And it'll always be on at night.
Yes, the lighting fixtures we've looked at have controls, so that can be controllable. We can leave that always on at night. The other thing is the flagpole light. What we've talked about there is a light potentially on the top of the pole rather than
Rather than the
Right.
traditional
Yep.
upward illumination.
Yeah.
I'm surprised no one's come up with a lit flag, but
Given,
yeah, sorry I said anything.
Jolly Roger.
Just to bring up the timing of the lights. Is it something for public safety that all of them need to be on for all the sidewalks, I assume, like the light posts and the parking area?
It is, it's typically about 1 foot candle.
No, just the fact that they're on all. I'm not saying that I don't want them on. I just was wondering what what's
I
standard?
standard is to leave them on in pedestrian
Mhm.
areas to a certain level for safety.
And the parking lot too.
Yes.
And security of the building too. Yeah.
Anything else that you didn't get?
I think that checked all of the items that I was hoping.
On the light fixtures, I'll just put my preference. I like the gooseneck on the pole, but I like the wall mount simpler version. The gooseneck seems a little fussy to me, but it's,
And
again, it's very minor.
I like the gooseneck on both. I do. I just think that it's nice to have them go together. And then they also goes with the curve of the bike rack. It's really very pleasing.
Anyone else have strong gooseneck? What's the cost? I mean, roughly.
Between the two, I have assumed comparable. They're the same because they're the same, coming from the same manufacturer. Okay. Same. Fix.
Anything else? From anybody? Okay, I guess we're gonna see you soon.
Yep.
So are we gonna go with the 13th or?
That works best for everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll put it on the list.
Okay, then we're ready for good of the order. And I think the first thing we need to talk about is tomorrow night's meeting.
Mhm.
And the format for that. Bruce, do you wanna?
Well, it's, from the staff standpoint, we thought initially it would be, Elise speaking to everyone. And then after that, it would be the council asking all these questions. And then after that, the council talking among themselves. It'd be like,
But you're including design review and planning.
yes,
When's the public comment?
public would be after.
Oh, so that would be the final.
Well, it depends. I think we need to use the same rules we would use, like, tonight, that if it's not on this topic, it would be at the beginning of the meeting.
Right.
If it's on the topic, it would be after.
Yeah, as long as there is public comment. I just think it's, really, really important in this
Sure.
issue.
Yeah.
I'm not, I mean, I have all this community publicity about housing and not take comment. That doesn't.
Right.
Yeah, having said that, Bruce, I would be willing to have the public comment after, after Lisa's done.
Yeah,
I would
that's a good
We get to
idea.
hear public comment and then can.
And then we did, then
And
we
then
have
we
our
have
discussion. I think that's even a better idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that,
So is the agenda gonna reflect that?
No, the agenda just says it's a housing meeting, so the format you can talk about at the beginning of the meeting
Okay.
and say, okay, we'll introduce Elisa, this is what we'll do, then you can give your public comment, because you'll have public comment, regular public comment at the beginning. Where you say,
Maybe.
this is for non-agenda items, if you'd like to speak now, if you want to discuss the housing topic, we'll open that up after the
After-
presentation.
Okay,
Can we, is there any way, and talk about public comment at the beginning of the meeting, is there any way we can say something like public comment on local issues rather than opening it up to the worldwide web situation?
I wrote that question down for, to ask Ashley.
so we'll get some more.
The mayor, opened the public to be heard by limiting comments to subjects directly affecting the town,
Okay,
or something along those lines.
yeah.
So that
Ashley's gonna rule on it.
I would ask her, yes.
Okay, good.
And she emailed me back, she said this is actually something that's been happening to a lot of cities,
Yeah.
and so she said we'll have a meeting tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Start addressing it.
Okay, so,
Oh, that's
It's already in the process.
just,
Good, thank you.
Yeah.
okay.
I'm sure you thought of it first and I read it.
Hmm?
I say, I'm sure you thought of it first and I just read it on your page.
Yeah.
Okay, is there anything else for
Yeah,
the order?
I do have a question. I guess this is for Bruce. And it, according to 3.16040, which is system development charges established, in January, we're supposed to it seems to me that we're supposed to calculate inflationary cost impacts and then adjust our system development charges accordingly every January. That's what I'm reading in the
Can I give an update on
ordinance.
that?
Yeah,
So it says that the city manager should calculate do the update through the ENR, I believe. And so we have been without an admin. And so that's one of the things that Public Works does with their admin. And so we were trying to get that done for January and we couldn't make it. So we were gonna do it in February. But we're still struggling, so I moved it to the March work session.
okay,
So we do have the ENR number, but the ENR number is not a direct translation to what percentage it should be increased. So Tessa created this amazing spreadsheet
oh, great.
that
Oh,
we are gonna use. I text her and say, can you help us? And so we're gonna sit down and she's gonna give us an overview of how it worked to make sure we have the correct numbers. And so our plan is to bring it at March.
okay,
So
great.
yeah, it's definitely, we have it set up as a reoccurring event on our calendar, so we don't forget. But it's just because of the staff time or the staff transition right now.
And where on our website can you even find any information about it? I could not find anything about it.
I don't think it's on the website anywhere because it's when somebody has a vacant lot and we address it and we're gonna assess SDCs, we have a form we send them that lists the costs. So I don't think we have anything on our website that has that. And it's actually something that impacts very few people because it has to be an undeveloped lot that's being developed.
Okay. So that's the only time you can, is it? Okay,
It's the only time. And then that money goes into a separate account. And when you look at our budget book, you'll see like the water reserve and water SDCs. And so any of that money goes into the SDC account. And then those accounts can pay for the projects from our SDC report that are projects we're gonna do, which is why we were able to get those fees.
okay,
So
okay.
It's kind of
Thanks,
a
yeah,
funky thing, but
Yeah.
it's definitely on our radar.
okay, okay, thanks.
Yeah, I have a couple of things. Did we ever get an answer about Moon property? About the trees?
Did you get an?
Yeah, well, Steve
Yeah.
went up and looked at it and he couldn't see any clearing happening on the hillside, but then somebody from the planning commission went up afterwards and said, no, there definitely was clearing a brush on the hillside. So I guess we're gonna maybe,
Brush, not trees.
well, brush and trees. So we really need to, I guess, but Steve was very candid in that he didn't really know what it looked like beforehand. He wasn't that familiar with the property. So he has it's hard for him to compare what was and what is now. But the planning commissioner who was concerned about it, brought to my attention, is very familiar with the lot. And so, I don't know, I think maybe we better maybe when there's a lull, or, well, we're never gonna have a lull, but at some point, I'd like maybe Steve to take another peek, because evidently some kind of heavy equipment went in there, and I just think we need to keep on top of it.
The other question I have is the city's been getting quite a few new employees.
Mhm.
Is there any way you can introduce them to us in a meeting?
That would be lovely.
Yeah,
That'd be nice. I mean, like,
Yes,
I mean, we've got a new finance director and we've got some people on administrative side.
Mhm.
I'm sure like to be able to say hello. Know who they are.
okay, I'm gonna try to do that at the next meeting.
Okay, great.
thanks.
Okay, anything else? From anyone?
Here tomorrow night?
Yeah, we'll see you
Mhm.
same time. Oh, no, 6 o'clock tomorrow night. Get 45 minutes extra.
Right.
Okay,
One thing about tomorrow, the fire chief will be here counting people coming in. Once we hit 44, we let the chamber know, and then the chamber will go ahead and open up and start.
Okay.
Will they have Zoom?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I think what they watch is YouTube. Correct? Or what they have been?
I thought they were doing both.
They do YouTube in the chamber and then
Right.
in the hallway, they have a computer set up with Zoom.
Right, so that people want to talk, but there's just a sync.
Okay,
About
so they
30
can,
seconds.
so they can talk to us,
Yeah, yeah, I think you have to go someplace else to do it.
but somewhere in the chamber
Yes,
building. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, anything else? Thank you very much.
Thanks.